Hello, my name is Rick Tejijo Benya. This is the Hidalgo Show, and today we talk about the Trading with the Enemy Act and how Babylon started in the United States. All right, welcome to the program. Today we're talking about the Trading with the Enemies Act. It's kind of an interesting subject. Nobody living today that listens to this program, unless you happen to be 102 years old, going on 103 years old, was born when the Trading with the Enemies Act was passed in 1918. But yet it affects every single one of us, because everything that's come after this, including the Patriot Act and the Securities Acts and espionage acts, acts that control all kinds of different areas of banking and finance, all came after this Trading with the Enemies Act. And what's so deceptive about the Trading with the Enemies Act is what actually happened in the passing of this act, which was created by the banksters, is the act became a confiscation act. It became an act where they were allowed to seize, and even to this day they have civil forfeiture laws in place where the law enforcement can come in and take all of your property and hold it as an alien property custodian. Even to this day, that happens. And not very often do people actually get their stuff back. Because whether we understand this or not, we have been declared enemies of the state. You and your flesh and blood capacity have been declared enemies of the state. And that is because you directly contradict by your nature and your creation the Babylonian system. You have to understand that everything was created specifically for the Babylonian system. That is, everything in U.S. law, in every law of every country ever, has all been created for the benefit. And remember, benefit's not something we want, right? It's a profit, a privilege. It's something we don't want. But all benefit has been given to governments, to this Babylonian system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some things to you, and then I'm going to explain how this all happened. So here we have a simple Google. Well, this happens to be Bing here. I don't know how I got Bing as my search engine, but I did. Anyway, when I searched trading with the Enemies Act, this is what I came up with. United States. The Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917 is still in force. The Act established the office of Alien Property Custodian to manage the property of U.S. enemies or patents filed in the U.S. by German nationals. Now, may have in effect been propagandized as something to dissuade German nationals from supporting their homelanders back in the homeland, right? But actually, it was far more sinister. But of course, Bing is not going to represent this properly. This is the common knowledge. The U.S. government office was intended to manage this intellectual property in the U.S. interest during the war. Well, what is the U.S. interest? Right? The U.S. interest is the interest of the system that controls it. So if it's progressing towards a Babylonian system, and it was after 1871, then guess what? Its interests are going to be to further the effects of the Babylonian system. Now let's dive a little bit into this. You'll notice that this code is, this Trading with the Enemies Act is actually in the U.S. Code. It's actually in Title 12 of the code, which is the banking code. And it still exists to this day, yet it's had many amendments throughout the years to make it even stronger, even more, even more of a death blow to the sovereignty of an individual person. So what I want to discover through this is I want you to see clearly how you must choose now whether you want to be a part of this Babylonian system or not. Look, it's no longer a question of whether we've been deceived or not. We have been deceived. There is no question about it. We have absolutely been deceived, and we have been told that there is no choice, that you live in a country, and because of patriotism and because you have allegiance to that country, that you have to do things a certain way. Okay? We've been told that U.S. law works a certain way, it has a certain effect, and we must do things their way. But what we haven't been told is that there is a system that is specifically set up only for the ecclesia and always has been set up only for the ecclesia, that encompasses freedom and liberty and justice and morals and the law of God, Yahuwah. And we have the opportunity to live and operate in that system, and that it still exists. But in order to understand how Babylon has deceived you, we're going through this Trading with the Enemies Act so you can see specifically how they literally encompassed every freedom that you've ever been taught that you had into this Trading with the Enemies Act. Even to the point of, in subsection 19, right here, actually capturing the free press. Yeah, I read this, and this just really surprised me. I could not believe what I was reading. Let's read a little bit of it so you can see for yourself. So 10 days after the approval of this act, on October 6, 1917, and until the end of the war. Now, does it list the war? Is there a war, a specific war mentioned? Has the United States been out of a war ever since then? Have we not been in some kind of war? Now it's a war of terror on terror. Before that it was a war on drugs. Before that it was a war, Cold War, right? We have gone from war to war to war. What war is it mentioning? It doesn't give a war, a specific war. It doesn't list a certain war. It just says until the end of the war. It shall be unlawful for any person, firm, corporation, association to print, publish, or circulate, or cause to be printed, published, or circulated in any foreign language, any news item, editorial, or other printed matter respecting the government of the United States or of any nation engaged in the present war, its policies. Do you hear that? It's policies. Policies aren't laws, but they are in a Babylonian system. International relationships, the state of conduct of the war, or any matter relating thereto, provided that this section shall not apply to any print, newspaper, or publication where the publisher or the distributor thereof, or before offering the same for mailing, or in any manner distributing it to the public, has filed with the postmaster at the place of publication, in the form of an affidavit, a true and complete translation of the entire article containing such matter proposed to be published in such print, newspaper, or publication, and has caused to be printed in plain type in the English language at the head of each such item, editorial or other matter. Right? On and on and on. So, they just made it illegal in the Babylonian version of America after 1871, after the Organic Act. It made it absolutely illegal to publish anything in a foreign language. Okay? Well, that's interesting. Unless you have it translated in an affidavit and filed at the post office. Huh, that's interesting too. Post office. Do we even have post office today? We have postal service. But interesting. You can go on and on and on. You can read about it here. There's fines and all kinds of things. But if you look down through the subsections, you will find pretty much every single thing that you ever thought you had as a right has been consumed in one of these subsections. Okay? The only thing not covered here is the ecclesia. Wonder why. So let's go on. That's interesting, but it gets even better. Because see, during the time of this act, there was a guy in office named Woodrow Wilson. One of my favorite, non-favorite characters of all time. He wrote an executive order that prescribed rules and regulations under, guess what? The Espionage Act, which, by the way, later became the Trading with the Enemies Act. Wow, isn't that amazing? Here's what he did. I'm going to get to the good part here. Whereas by executive order, dated October 12, 1917, made under authority of the Act aforesaid of the Act approved, known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, I vested in the Secretary of the Treasury the executive administration of any investigation, regulation, or prohibition of any transactions in foreign exchange, export, or ear-making of gold or silver coin or bullion or currency, transfers of credit, many forms, right? Any form other than credits related solely to transactions to be executed wholly within the United States. So, foreign trade was nixed, especially if it was earmarked of gold and silver coin or bullion. So, real money, nixed. See ya. No more. Now, isn't that interesting? Because did we not in the Constitution for the United States of America, did we not make it quite well known to the Congress that they were to regulate foreign commerce? We gave them the power to regulate foreign commerce, but what do we mean by regulate foreign commerce? Not allow us to do it at all? Or regulate it, meaning make it equitable? You see, a radical reinterpretation began to take place around 1918. And this is the act that kind of launched it all. This came after the Federal Reserve Act. And it was the first real act to completely subvert the Constitution of the United States of America. It subverted it absolutely completely. In every way, every fashion. And this literally became the new Constitution. And since then, laws impacting the definition of things called, like money laundering and like, every other conceivable thing in the world have been created. All on the back of this particular Espionage Act. So it all started with the Trading with the Enemy Act. Now, we're going to look up the term alien property custodian. What is an alien property custodian? Well, first of all, it's a noun. So it's a person, place, or thing. Right? And in this case, it's the person appointed in time of war to take charge of the property of alien enemies. Now, what is an alien in accordance with the United States? Since the United States, being a corporation created after 1871 under the Organic Act, and under the acts of where they allowed the southern states back into the Union, the Reconstruction Acts, they forced everyone to ratify the 14th Amendment, which made it clear that U.S. citizens, that was the first time the term U.S. citizens had ever been referenced. Before that, it was citizens of the United States. Now, that was capital C, by the way, proper noun, capital C, citizen of the United States. But after the 14th Amendment, it was United States citizens, holistically different status, holistically different person. So now these U.S. persons or U.S. citizens are now actually enemies of the state, and you who govern the U.S. person are considered the surety for that alien enemy. Because the United States, well, this is where it gets complicated. There's more than one. There's a corporate United States. There's a actual de jure United States, and it goes on and on and on. I actually know a guy who claims that there are 8 separate United States, different capacities that the United States holds under that name. So this is interesting, this study, because what we're learning is the Babylonian system has literally chopped our individual sovereignty to the absolute ground, has not allowed a true sovereign person to exist since this time, has been at war with true sovereignty, which is, by the way, the only true sovereign is the ecclesia, because we are what we were created by. Because Yahuwah created us in his image, we too have a form of sovereignty. Our form of sovereignty is to treat and dispose of that we have, and to be steward over that which Yahuwah has given us here in this earth. So we get a better picture of this Babylonian system and how it's captivated all of us. But the beauty of what I'm teaching here is not that we've been captivated, but that we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to come out of that captivity. We have an opportunity to be taken under the wing of Yahuwah, taken under the wing of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, who looked over Jerusalem and said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, city that kills the prophets. If only you had allowed me to take you under my wing." That call still goes out today. Instead, he says to us, "Oh, United States, United States. Oh, Babylon, oh, Babylon. Your mysteries are great. But, if you would, I stand here and I knock at the door. And if you'll let me in and sup with you, I'll give you eternal life. I'll give you rest. I'll give you an easy yoke. I'll give you my kingdom. I'll give you interest in my kingdom." And that opportunity stands right in front of us. He stands at the door and he knocks and he says, if you're done with this Babylonian system, all you have to do is walk out. All you have to do is straighten out your affairs. All you have to do is just walk in me. Learn my ways. Learn the ways of the Lord. Walk in them, and you shall be free. There is coming a great opportunity that each and every one of us have to be greatly blessed by the Lord. And when that opportunity comes, will you be ready to make it? Will you be ready to say, "Yes, Lord, yes"? Will you be ready to make your yes, yes, and your no, no? For anything else is evil. I don't know, but I hope so. I hope you will be ready. I hope you'll join the Hidalgo show on our new journey as we journey into a place of great understanding. And I hope you'll join us as we journey into a place of great prosperity as the Lord begins to inherit or lavish us with his inheritance. I'm not telling you this so you'll dream of monetary gains. I'm telling you this because I want you to dream of the world that you could build, that the Lord has been calling you out to build. What part will you have in reforming, in re-engineering, in reinstituting? What part will you have? It is all up to you. Now, may the God of mercy have peace and love upon you. And I pray that if you are one who could be a patron, that you would join us on our Patreon account. It's right there on the screen in front of you. Go to that website, join me as a patron, and start. I've got a few patrons already, and they are my lifeblood. These people keep me going every single week. I come back and I do this again and again and again, and I keep coming up with new and relevant subjects, all because of my patrons. And I invite you to be one who calls me back every week. If you can't be one, well, that's okay. we have a Facebook page. You can check me out on Facebook. You can like us on Facebook, and you can spread the wealth on Facebook for as long as they'll have us. If for some reason you aren't on Facebook but you do like YouTube, well, we've got a YouTube channel too. I invite you to go to YouTube and to check us out on YouTube and hit the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the little bell so that you get notifications every single time that we get on and make a new show like this one. And keep checking it out every week for more content. Also, if you want to reach us, you want to reach me specifically, you can reach out to me at the email that you see on the bottom of the screen. Hit me up with that email and I will get back to you. Or if you don't want to email me, you want to mail me a letter specifically, there's my mailing address on the bottom of the screen. You want to send me a package that you want me to open on air, I can do that. If you don't, then just write a note in there saying that you don't want me to open it on air. That'd be fine. I'll do whatever you instruct me to do. But most of all, I thank you for joining me. I thank you for being a part of the Hidalgo Show. I hope these things help you out a little bit. I hope they help to lead you down roads of study so you can study for yourself and find out for yourself what the truth is on things. Because it is out there. Especially as you reconcile it against His Word. You can then find very clearly where you are. But like always, I want to end the show by letting you know what we're all about. Here at the Hidalgo Show, everything we do is all about the blood.